بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وبعد. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something that we should speak about very frequently. We should always remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful, and that as human beings we have our weaknesses and shortcomings. As Umar radiallahu anhu reminds us, our Islam is like a bird. It has two wings. One wing is hope, and the other wing is positive fear. Positive fear. Again, fear in this context doesn't mean like you're scared of a criminal. It's more like the awe and respect that you have for somebody senior to yourself. So a bird flies, it needs hope and it needs mercy. And it needs at the same time a sense of consciousness is fear. Any parent can relate to this. With your child, if you're only going to be kind, you're not going to discipline them, then they're going to be running the home. And if you are only strict, then you're going to technically have people who are like zombies. They will never really listen to you. They'll forcefully drag their feet in everything they do. Any parent will tell you, you need that right balance where you have compassion with your child, but at the same time, you have some discipline in your house as well. Our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be such that when we make dua and we cry before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let's never forget the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِن رَوْحِ اللَّهِ. Never forget that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us more than anyone. It's very easy to get lost in the craziness of things that, oh, I'm weak, I'm committing sins, or my life is tough, I'm always falling short, am I going to Jahannam or not? These are things that shaitan sometimes whispers in our ears so that we become mayus, so that we become despondent in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Ali radiallahu anhu was asked, in your opinion, which verse of the Quran gives you the greatest amount of certainty? The greatest amount of confidence? What's your favorite verse? And he says, it's the verse in Surah Al-Zumar. قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. Oh my servants, I know you're doing wrong. On a daily basis, nobody needs to know this. Let me just ask myself, since the morning when I woke up till right now, it hasn't even been a full 24 hours, how many haram things have I heard? How many haram things have I seen? How many times did I lie? How many times did I do ghiba? How many times did I do things that are inappropriate? Not even in my life, just today. Just today. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, I've done so many wrong things. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Ya ibadiya alladhina asrafu. Oh my servants, I know you're going to do wrong. La taqnatu min rahmatillah. Never utter the words that, Ya Allah, I'm scared of you to the point that I know you will not forgive me. We should always be hopeful in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hadith that we're covering today is such a beautiful hadith. It comes in Sahih al-Bukhari. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says that after a war had happened, everybody was scattered, and there was a mother who was among the defeated party, meaning she was from the prisoners. And you can tell that she was very concerned, very scared, very anxious. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he sees her from a distance, and he sees that this lady, she's saying, where's my child? Where's my child? She was separated from her child. And she's frantic, she's anxious, she's very scared that maybe her child is going to be lost, and she just completely lost control. As she loses control, she notices in the corner that her young infant is there by himself, and she rushes to the child, embraces the child, and starts to nurse and breastfeed the child. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was there watching this entire thing. And subhanallah, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam asks the Sahaba a very important question. He says, oh my Sahaba, you saw what just happened. Umar radiallahu anhu, Umar, you saw what just happened. This mother, she was scared that she lost her child. Let me ask you a question. Do you think the moment this child is found, will the mother take the child and throw the child in the fire? أترون هذه طارحة ولدها في النار? Do you think this mother who is frantically searching for her child, the moment she finds her child, do you think she will just take that child and throw the child into the fire? And the Sahaba said, absolutely not, Ya Rasulullah. This mother would go in the fire herself before she throws her own child into the fire. Then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said something very powerful. He says, Allahu arhamu bi'ibadihi min hadhihi biwaladiha. If you think the compassion of this mother for her child is amazing, then Allah's mercy for you and I is even greater than this. On the Day of Judgment, Allah will not just throw us into the fire. Allah will not just punish us. Allah will not just put us in through adhab. When we're living in this life, we will definitely commit wrongs. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ. As long as we do not commit shirk, we do not associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will never punish us if we seek forgiveness. If we avoid two things and we always seek forgiveness, inshallah, we are hopeful that we're going to Jannah. Number one, we avoid shirk. We avoid kufr. We avoid anything that is associating partners with Allah. Because we're weak human beings. If I do something haram with my eyes, with my hands, with my tongue, with my money, I have that weakness. But if every day I do something wrong, I turn to Allah and say, Ya Allah, this is my weakness. I seek your forgiveness. I'm trying my best. Allah will forgive me. As long as, number one, I don't do shirk, and number two, I do not undermine the haqq of another human being. This is very important. I can't steal money from someone, I can't slander someone, I can't harm someone, and then go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. It doesn't work like that. Yes, Allah is most forgiving, but He's most forgiving of the sins that we commit against Him. If I have done wrong to my fellow brother or my sister, if I have slandered, lied against, and done something wrong to my fellow Muslim brothers or even non-Muslim neighbors and people, then on the Day of Judgment, Allah is not going to say, I forgive you. He's going to say, go to that person and seek forgiveness. So it's very simple. If I can avoid these two things, I don't harm someone, I don't steal from, I don't do anything wrong to other people. I do my best. I can be the biggest sinner in the world. In my private life, I can be doing all the haram under the sun. If I avoid two things, I don't do shirk, and number two, I do not harm someone else, as long as I am seeking forgiveness, as long as I am acknowledging my weakness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will readily forgive me and there will be no repercussions for that. What's the best example of this? Wahshi radiallahu an. Wahshi radiallahu an, regarding whom it is said that the verses of قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا were revealed. He was the person responsible for the death of Hamza radiallahu an. He was responsible for the death of Hamza radiallahu an. Yet when he accepted Islam, he had this thought that, Ya Allah, Ya Rasulullah, I've done something wrong. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, you accepted Islam, Allah will forgive you. You know, when we say somebody accepts Islam, that's great. And Allah give tawfiq to people to accept Islam. But even in our lives, we can have a second opportunity of accepting Islam. What does that mean? My entire life, I was away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now I turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you look at some of the greatest awliya, you know, we hear about Junayd al-Baghdadi. We hear about Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. We hear about Fudayl ibn Iyad. These very famous names and pious people of our past. If you look at their lives, oftentimes it's mentioned that when they were growing up, they never lived pious lives. The famous story is of Ibrahim ibn Adham. Ibrahim ibn Adham was someone who never lived a very pious life. And one day, he was in a palace enjoying himself when somebody said to him, are you looking for happiness? Are you looking for pleasure? Are you looking for success? And he said, yes. Then he said, you're looking in the wrong place. If you think your happiness comes in the treasures of this world, then you're looking in the wrong place. And that moment, a realization dawned upon him that, you know what, let me change my life. Even the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, Do you think Umar radiallahu anh, Khalid ibn al-Walid, these Sahaba were just born as saints? If you look at their lives, they lived very, you can say, not the most healthy lives. But once they accepted Islam, فَلَا نِعْمَ الْإِسْلَامِ. What a beautiful Islam. You know, subhanAllah, the Sahaba, they came to Rasulullah ﷺ and they said, Ya Rasulullah, when somebody accepts Islam, what happens? And he says that if somebody accepts Islam and they have istiqamah and they do good, then all of the previous sins are gone. But if someone accepts Islam and they don't really become consistent, then that is not positive. Even in our lives, we can make a turn. We can change. We should never become despondent. So in summary, Allahu arhamu bi'ibadihi min hadhihi biwaladiha. Nabi ﷺ tells us that that mother who was frantically looking for her child, she will never throw her child in the fire. Allah will never throw you in the fire as well. Just make sure you do three things. Number one, do not associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, do not undermine the rights of other people. Oftentimes we'll have people who are doing everything good, but then when it comes down to the rights of other people, I'm cheating them in business, I'm lying, I'm slandering, I'm doing ghiba, I'm literally just giving away all of my good deeds, everything I'm working so hard for. Once we've done these two things, we just need to do istighfar and tawbah. This is not a green light that, yeah, live your life however you want, do all of the sins in the world. No, we are all weak, and if we do sins, as long as we turn to Allah, Allah will forgive us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspire us. This is a time of a lot of, people feeling a sense of weakness and despondency. We're all weak people. Allah tells us in the Quran that we are created weak. So if we do wrong, just turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, Ya Allah, I will not do it again. The ulama explain what is a sign that a person is sincere in the tawbah. Tawbatan nasuha. Because if we do tawbah, it's fine. But one is a tawbah that is insincere and one is tawbah that is sincere. What is evidence that tawbah is sincere? The ulama say, an-nadmu. One, the person is regretful, remorseful. Number two, they make an active effort not to go back to that. If I know that my sin is on my phone, if I know my sin is the friends that I hang out with, if I know my sin is the business that I'm interacting with, then when I make tawbah, if I'm not doing something about it, then I need to ask myself, am I sincere? Am I still keeping that phone with me? Am I still going on the same places on my computer? Am I still hanging out with the same people? Am I still doing the same businesses? If I have done nothing different to make a change, then I need to really question the sincerity of my tawbah. But on the other hand, I feel really bad about what I'm doing on my phone. I feel really bad of what I'm doing on the computer. I feel bad about the ghiba, the slandering I do with my friends. Now I make tawbah, and the next day, I change my computer, my phone. I put some privacy things. I put some restrictions. I realize when I hang out with these people, I do wrong. I tell them, listen, I'm sorry, I don't have time to hang out today. I realize this type of investment or that business is haram. I tell myself, I'm going to work towards a halal income. That is a sign of sincere tawbah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us sincere tawbah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never allow us to be despondent about His mercy. And may He always envelop us in His forgiveness, His mercy, and His compassion. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.